23 attacks, almost one a day.
Wow.
In the month of March. And now the numbers from March show that the majority of those attacks were people spitting on the drivers or the operators.
Well, that's dangerous,
right?
Considering what's in people's mouths.
Well, that's actually considered a hazardous material situation.
Oh yeah.
And when I've done ride-alongs with cops, when they're spat on by people and being arrested or whatever the case is, they have to shut everything down. They have to call for paramedics, and they have to do a whole thing. So that was the majority of the assaults, followed by any attacks with hands and fists, and then a knife attack, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And someone actually used a baby stroller as a weapon to attack a driver.
Oh, that's unique. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, so that was just in March. But last year, they showed a little over 162 attacks in total. It came out to around 14 attacks a month against drivers and operators.
And now, a train operator, can you get to them as easily as a bus driver?
Not as easily, but there is still those who manage to attack them like as they're coming and going, getting on and off.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And those who break in, they literally can break those doors.
Those compartments, yeah.
Yeah, and if you remember in the videotape that I posted, the exclusive that we had on that video, people were shooting into the windows of those compartments.
Yeah.
So, that's the video that got me banned from TikTok.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. That's what they banned on TikTok?
Yeah.
Really? You showing the real truth, right?
Yeah. I got banned on TikTok, so I had to do a new account with a different name.
Oh, those choking demonstrations. That's how easy it is to get around TikTok bans.
Kids pass around to each other. They don't get banned. Yeah, the kids actually killing each other for these stupid stunts doesn't get banned, but my actual surveillance video montage gets banned, and it caused my account to be suspended indefinitely.
Would that be because Metro asked them to do that? TikTok just has some policy that stopped you?
It was because it was showing violence. They said I violated community guidelines.
So news organizations don't post.
I've appealed it
crime
twice.
videos on TikTok?
I appealed twice, saying this is active journalism. I gave them my credentials. I showed them my background. It didn't matter.
And the Chinese are laughing at you.
I know,
back
right?
in Beijing. Yes.
Yeah. So this report is pretty glaring because now it's coming from within. And there's really no dispute about it because these drivers and operators are speaking out, and everyone's been so fixated on the passenger that they forget about the driver-operator. And now Metro's getting proactive. They've hired 48 additional transit security officers that will do nothing but ride the buses. And they've asked the law enforcement partners, which would be Long Beach PD, LAPD, and LA County Sheriff's Department, to deploy more armed officers and deputies. Now, does this have some sort of a deja vu when the previous sheriff was in office? Yeah. I think about that when I go back, because we went and did a ride-along during Operation Safe Travel, and that was something that was done specifically by the Sheriff's Department. Metro did not like it. They were very against it. Their Public Safety Committee, Advisory Committee, or PSAC as it's known, is made up of the activists and the anti-cop people, and they were the ones telling the Metro Board no armed people on the trains or buses because people are intimidated and scared of them. And so when the Sheriff's Department deployed that operation, there was a 76% reduction in onboard crime.
But this is common sense. I don't understand why are the politicians so affected by activist groups who demand crazy policies. Clearly, if you have armed people on anything, you're going to get less crime. And if you don't, you're going to get more crime. That's not up for debate here.
I'm surprised at this point that the drivers and operators haven't sort of banded together and said, sort of do their own walkout or their own strike until conditions are guaranteed safe.
Can they construct something to protect the bus drivers more, like a big plastic shield so they don't get spit on? And
it's funny, Ken, because during the pandemic they installed those. They installed the plexiglass.
Oh, because of spittle, right?
Right.
Because of COVID.
For COVID, and they said that that's been sort of a good deterrent. But there is still ways of getting to these drivers and operators, and some of that plastic's cracked and it's in bad shape. So they're trying to figure out ways to even more isolate. But here's the problem. So let's say a passenger passes out, or something happens to a passenger. The driver sometimes has to react and has to render aid. So it it's complicated, and these drivers and operators, and they've got their backs to these people half the time. They look up at the mirror every once in a while, but most of the time they have their backs to these passengers.
You have to have an armed presence on as many buses and trains as possible. There's no other way around this.
Is there any cross-correlation in these data as to how much homeless people are involved in these attacks?
Well, it was anecdotal, but I was told that the majority of these attacks are by homeless people or those on drugs.
I'm sorry, unhoused, experiencing homeless.
Well, so if they took action against the homeless crazies, they wouldn't end up on the buses and trains to begin with.
Right. And
so that's where the root cause of the problem
Exactly
is.
right. It leads to some of the other problems.
Well,
right.
see, it's a domino effect. When you allow chaos to happen block by block, it starts infecting everything else in public.
And the remainder of these are usually gangs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the violence on trains and buses are gangs, too. But, the great many of these cases are homeless people attacking for no reason and unprompted and unprovoked.
But you raise a good point. You'd think there would be some sort of a job action by these drivers and train operators if it's getting like this.
Are they unionized?
You know what? I don't think so. For some weird reason, I think they're not. I don't know that they are.
So they're not county workers, so they're not.
Well, no, because Metro's it's a different deal. And for instance, the transit officers, I believe, like the ambassadors. Now, let's not forget the ambassador program.
They want to unionize.
Yes, they do want to unionize, and they are employees of a third-party contractor. So that's a different situation. So they're employees of a contractor.
But that's true for the drivers.
But I think the drivers are employees of third-party companies. I think it's at Avello, not Avello, what's the name of the Viello, I think is that one of the companies. I can't remember, but I think there's third-party contractors involved in a lot of that.
All right, Steve, thank you very much for that report.